Result of the latest round of the Conservative Party leadership. We know the final two now, Robert Jenrick, Kemi Badenoch. Who do you think could cause most trouble for Labour?
I'm not sure that any of them can, and I think this process has shown it, because I don't think they've really at any point shown that they understand why they lost the general election. You know, the chaos, the hating one another, the obsession with Europe, and banging on about Europe, and now it looks like their leadership contest in the final stages is all going to be about whether they leave the European Court of Human Rights. The fact that nothing works in this country, you know, spending commitments that didn't amount to anything, problems with economic growth and the biggest fall in living standards in our history. I don't think they've understood any of why they lost, and that's the first prerequisite for an opposition. You've got to do that first. And I suspect, I may be wrong about this, but my guess is that James Cleverly got a bit complacent, didn't end up ringing round everybody who voted for him last round and just thought, I'm a shoo-in now. And it's complacency which does for politicians in the end.
That's interesting. So that's your theory on why the numbers seem to change.
Yeah, there's that. And another bit maybe, which is, I spoke to a couple of Tory MPs last night, and they were both obsessed with voting for somebody who wasn't their preferred outcome, but to keep the other person out. So I think there's still a bit of hating. Anyway, look, it's their issue, private grief, but, you know, they both seem to me to lead with their chins, and both of their chins are made of very fine porcelain.
Interesting. Well, it's been a rollercoaster of a race. I'm sure there'll be a few more loops.
Somebody's joked in the Labour Party whether we have to declare this as a gift.
Oh, what, because the whole thing is such a gift for the Labour Party?
But, I mean, the message I just said about complacency for them applies to us too. You should never take your opponents for granted just because they look dim-witted. Doesn't necessarily mean that they can't land punches.
Interesting. What, so you think that they look dim-witted then? Is that what you're saying?
I'm trying to be nice.
Yeah, I'm not sure how well that...
Hey everyone, should Labour be concerned about Kemi Badenoch and Robert Jenrick? That was the question posed to Chris Bryant on the Sophy Ridge show. Bryant claimed that his party isn't too worried, as both candidates represent chaos. He also predicted that Badenoch and Jenrick would likely focus on the European Convention on Human Rights and immigration, rather than understanding why the Tories lost in the first place. Bryant also suggested that James Cleverly may have grown complacent in the race, leading to his downfall, and mentioned that some Tory MPs voted tactically to keep other candidates out rather than backing their preferred choice. He added that whilst the current situation may seem like a gift for Labour, complacency should be avoided. Just because they look dim-witted doesn't mean they can't land punches. On the surface, Badenoch and Jenrick do not seem to pose a significant threat to Labour, as they represent a more extreme faction within the Conservative Party. With Labour currently enjoying a much stronger majority, there isn't much the two can do to shift the tide. However, the real concern lies within the narrative. If Farage and figures like Badenoch or Jenrick dominate the conversation around immigration, they could create challenges for Labour. Nigel Farage is likely to exploit these issues like immigration, claiming that both the Conservatives and Labour are failing to address the problem. He will argue that the only party that can truly stop the boats is Reform UK. If this narrative gains traction, it could erode the support for Labour, especially if the Tories and the Reform UK party are aligned on talking points. The right-wing media will amplify these messages, focusing on Farage and Conservative voices whilst attacking Labour, whether they're doing well or not. This could present a problem for Labour down the line if they don't see the agenda and effectively counter Farage's claims. Whilst Badenoch and Jenrick may not seem like a serious threat right now, Labour needs to be vigilant about the media landscape and ensure they stay ahead of the narrative. Media reform could be essential in the next Parliament to counteract the biases that give more coverage to right-wing figures like Farage. But let me know what you think in the comments, and as always, I will see you next time. You actually made it to the end of the video. If you would like to subscribe to the channel, which, why haven't you already, is somewhere over there. And also, if you want to watch more videos, also check out over there. I've been Jake from Just Jake. See you later.